What's up, YouTube? This is how to play Aether with Veilside, and today we want to cover a comprehensive guide called Building the Best Teams. So, as I've played this game since day one of its launch, even after following it in CN for at least a year, I've been thinking about things, and I now think I'm finally to the point where I can make this guide. If you want to build the best teams, you need to consider 7 different areas of the game. So in this video, I want to explain those areas to you in a relatively short video so you can become an AG Pro. But first, before we get into it, check this out. The first area that you want to consider in building the best teams is what I like to call the basics. What I mean by this is what it means to build up individual characters and how to do it most efficiently. Arctic Poseidon will be a perfect example since I've been meaning to build her on my third account anyway. Now, as you can see, my current attack is at 1708, and my current CP or character power is at 5,924, right? So my crit rate is also at 5%, and yeah. Now, whenever you level up your character, this is what you get. So it increased my attack from 1,643 to 1,733, and defense and my max HP, right? So flat attack is what you really want to prioritize when you first start the game, and really even as you're leveling. And I'll show you why. When it comes to skills, every skill, if not most skills on every character, are all based off of flat attack. So Ice Poseidon, summons ice crystals to attack her enemies, dealing ice damage, blah blah blah. Percentage of attack in total, right? That's her basic attack. Here's skill 1. And it says dealing ice damage equal to 300% of attack in total, and ice damage equal to percentage of attack in total. Skill 3, skill 3 here, dealing ice damage equal to 700% of attack to enemies along the way. It's based on attack. And her ultimate skill, of course, dealing ice damage equal to 840% of attack in total. Okay, now that's just a DPS, a damage per second person. But what about, a support character? It's the same thing. So Hera simply buffs the damage of your characters in the team, and she does some damage, right? So dealing light damage equal to 419% of attack. Skill 1, dealing light damage equal to 302.6% of attack. Skill 2, this is her buff, but dealing light damage equal to 873.8% of attack in total. So even her buff is based on her attack. Her skill 3, so skill 2, right? Skill 3, dealing light damage 2,346.1% of attack in total, and then her ultimate skill is just a pure buff, right? Okay, so that's a support character. We've seen a DPS now, we've seen a support character, but what about a healer? I mean, surely a healer would be based off something else, right? Well, let's check. So this is a Poseidon who's a healer, and her water damage equal to 312% of attack in total. Okay, that's her basic attack, of course. What about her heal? Restores the HP of all teammates within a certain range by 1,000 plus 25%, blah blah blah, of Poseidon's attack. Okay, this buff is simply a buff to increase your team's attack, but even that's still increasing the team's attack. Her skill 3 here is also dealing water damage equal to percentage of attack in total. And then her ultimate The max HP of all members in the team is raised by 10%. The effect, which stacks up to 3 times, restores to the entire team HP to 3,000 plus 50% of Poseidon's attack. So even her heals are based off of attack. That is to say that every single character that you can ever get in this game, all of their skills are going to be based off of flat attack, which is a huge thing to consider when you're enchanting your sigils, but we'll get into more of that later. So when it comes to building a character, building the best teams, you have to build each character within that team to make it the best, right? And that means you need to start just one by one. So first things first is to level up your character in increments. I would say after you get maybe, let's say you're building Arctic Poseidon 2, right? After you get her to level 40 right here, just from limit breaking and then leveling her up to level 40. Oops. Okay, so now she's legitimately at level 40, right? So let's say that's your first increment and now you want to go to the next one. I would say the next thing to build is your access key. So access key, the term is kind of confusing, but don't let it be. Just think, when you hear access key, think weapon. That is what your character's access key is. It's their weapon. So leveling up your weapon here is this button up here where it says enhance. This right here is your functor, so don't get confused. A functor is completely different. A functor is just something to enhance your character even more and you know, change up their skills a little bit, and you get functors by polling with in-game currency or stars, and in the future there's going to be a way to actually farm for purple ones, right? So you can use a blue and purple functors for now. You don't need her signature functor like I have. It's fine. Just go for upgrading her access key first here, because as you can see on the screen, it also gives you flat attack when you upgrade it. So after you have sufficiently leveled up your Arctic Poseidon or your character in level, at least in the first increment, and then you've leveled up her access key in the first increment, let's say you want to get her to level 40, then I would say it's time to go ahead and start building her skills. But skills are really costly. Like, even if you farm these divine factors, you get so little. So it's gonna take some time to build up the skills. But skills would be your third priority in this progression, right? And then your fourth priority would be her codes. And oftentimes codes are locked behind proficiency, as in, you know, how often you use that character. Sometimes they're locked behind leveling up your skills to a certain level, because they will take a combination of all 5 skill levels, and sometimes they'll unlock based on that. So your codes will unlock soon, very quickly, as you continue to play the character and as you continue to upgrade their level and their access key and then their skills, right? The progression then is, for the basics of building the best teams, is starting with your character level, then your access key, then your skills, and then your codes. Don't worry about chips for now. Chips come into play at level 80, sometimes maybe 70, and sigils, we will talk about that later in this guide. So one last thing to say about just the basics is you will find yourself farming for these materials to level up your character. You'll find yourself farming for these materials. And so what you want to do when you're farming is just to find a balance between the story and farming, because you only get so much stamina every day, and then you only have so many stamina pots, right? If you save them, like me, like I won't let myself go below 20, except maybe here if necessary, but even though that's the large, I try to keep 20 just for specific events. So You only have so much, so try to min-max it a little bit and think through how much stamina you have, and that will help you when it comes to farming for your characters. Your main goal is to get 3 main DPS first, and then spread teams out through those main 3 DPS. And that is the first part, or the basics, of building the best teams. Alright, you made it through the first part of building the best teams and covering the basics. Now that you understand the basics, let's jump into the next video so you can become an AG Pro. Peace.